Hey everyone, welcome to the Reseller Room podcast. This podcast is designed to help you start or grow your reselling business, whether you're brick and mortar, wanting to start something from the ground up, or looking to get into online resale. We hope that this conversation is helpful to you.
Today we're talking about a growing topic in the resale community, and that is the topic of competition, the good, the bad, and what you can do to separate yourself from the rest.
All right, boys. So before we dive into our main topic today, I'm just curious. We're talking about competition. How competitive of a person would you guys consider yourself?
I mean, I race Chase to the bathroom daily.
Who wins?
Depends on the day.
Depends on how bad you guys
Whoever's closer.
Yeah, now the bathroom's right in between our desks.
Right. Yeah, I am a competitive person in general. My mom worked pretty hard to get that out of me in sports and stuff. My brother and I always competitive in sports. He's older, but I'm taller, so got that going.
There you go.
6'7". I mean, it's hard to beat that. And so naturally competitive, and I enjoy competition, but I do also see it as a father now as something that can be a hindrance to one's life too.
So if you were to look back at your life, maybe back in high school or college, when would you say you were at your most competitive? What were you doing? What kind of about your personality? Where were you most competitive in life?
For boys, it's high school sports, right?
Yeah, I mean that's a big one, and choir for me, honestly. That was I was a choir boy, and there was a guys' choir and a girls' choir, and it was diehard competition there. Never lost.
Cutthroat choir.
How does one win in a choir competition?
Well, yeah, there is a competition.
I think everyone lose.
Just sing better.
Twice we sang at Disney,
Yeah.
and you get a 1, and then it's how high of a 1, and the guys always won.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I played lacrosse for 8 years, and there's nothing like competition where you're beating each other with metal sticks. So.
Yeah.
You kind of have to be on
Lacrosse
your
is
game.
brutal, man. Yeah, and then my most notable achievement in competition, 2-time cruise champion of ping pong.
For ping pong.
Table tennis, baby.
The most surprising thing. So if people know me, they know I am not a avid reader, writer. That's my wife. But when I was in 4th grade, I wrote a poem that got published in a nationally distributed poem thing competition.
Yes.
You should have ran with that.
Yeah,
That was
really.
good.
That was not in any way a trajectory for my future.
Congratulations.
They're like, this guy's going to be an author.
That's the top right
Books
there.
of many.
Grade school poem competition. How about you, Skylar? Where do you think your biggest accomplishment was in a competitive environment?
I would say, I also did orchestra in middle school. And so similar to choir, it was pretty cutthroat. I was the only person that played my instrument, so I never had to compete for chairs or anything. But we went to this one competition throughout the whole Midwest. And this is just one that comes to mind. And we pretty much just did music that was Pirates of the Caribbean themed. That was it, and we won.
Zimmer.
And
go.
and we're like, let's just do the whole soundtrack pretty much. So
it's a good call.
it was great. That we were all city champs in lacrosse. We had the best record for our school ever. So it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. All right, so let's get down to it. So in the reselling space, you've been doing this for many, many years, and it feels like competition has just continued to increase in the space. More and more people are getting into it. When you look back at kind of the beginning of your career compared to now, what do you see as far as the market, and what does competition look like?
Yeah, reflecting back to, I don't know, you can go 20 years ago when I'm going to garage sales and selling on eBay as a kid, with Granny, those times were very different. I was talking to Granny the other day. I'm like, just imagine if we were asking for video games at every sale back then, like we do today, because there were video games everywhere at noon, at 2 o'clock, and they were great deals, sealed Game Boy Pockets for $3 that you could still sell back then for $150 or whatever. And this stuff was just it was abundant. And then there were sports cards, Pokemon cards everywhere. All this stuff that's today is so hard to find.
Pokemon. imagine the binders.
Oh, dude.
Oh my goodness.
And the stuff I would pass on. And I wasn't even, so I didn't have a smartphone, and I knew sports cards, Pokemon cards, and video games. That's it. And there's so many other categories that I could have gone in that I know about today. So competition it wasn't completely absent. Alfredo, local guy.
I remember Alfredo.
He was there, man. And
always hustling.
and I could not stand seeing him. I hated it when he was coming out of a garage sale and he had all the good stuff. It was so discouraging.
Yeah.
And I couldn't stand the guy. So he was around. There was some others around, but nothing compared to what it is today.
I'm curious because obviously you've been doing this so long. How can you usually tell, like, let's say garage sales, because that's going to be the most kind of public facing part of a reseller's business, especially in your context. How can you tell when someone is competition? Like what do they look like? How do they act? Like, what's that?
It's like cargo shorts, minivan, whatever we look like. If
You're
see
describing Chase at 16 years old.
Not Hawaiian shirts. I don't know. There's like a determination when people are walking up to a sale, like out of their car, and you see them in a few sales doing that.
Those are the main. Well, now it's okay. They've got their phone out. Mm-hmm. That's a big one. They're looking stuff up. But the other one is like sense of urgency.
Yeah.
The casual garage sale, they're never in a rush at all. So if you see somebody that is
They're
just
doing
like
the loop.
head down, they're going quick, they're getting back in the car, moving forward quick. It's like, oh yeah, they're competition. We gotta.
And then the interesting part of that is you don't exactly know what they're looking for. So there have been times where we're like, oh crap, there's competition right there. Well, all right, let's check anyway. And then they leave a bunch of good stuff behind.
Yeah.
There's a $1 Wii Sports on the table.
There's there's a bunch of DS games. It's like, oh, either he's competition and not looking for what,
or he's competition in a different market.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and then there's that one guy that at a neighborhood sale, his wife drives him around, and he opens the door and runs and looks at everything while running, and then runs back to the car.
It's the tag team of
This
the
dude,
century.
oh my gosh! If I look like this, I feel so dumb.
There's a lack of social EQ there.
He doesn't ask. He doesn't talk to the person having the sale. He's just looking at what's on the table. I'm like, dude, you don't even know what you're missing out. You got to ask. The power of the ask, man.
Yeah,
That's the thing most people miss out on is like Skylar's going up and he's flirting with the old ladies. And that's how
it's
we're
funny.
going
My wife laughs at how many old lady numbers I have. One just texted me recently and goes, hey, random, I met you 2 years ago. I have a GameCube and some games if you want it.
Wow.
I sent her an offer. It never got back to me, but I'm like, hey, it pays to give old ladies your numbers.
We'll have to check back in on it.
Yeah.
First pro tip today, give old ladies your number.
Got to get theirs.
Yeah, you got to get theirs.
Yes, get their number
Otherwise
and
you'll never hear
text,
back.
and
That's
text them. And then usually what I do for that is I'll just text them my name and what I'm looking for. And that's a good reminder of like, oh, I talked to this person about this item or whatever.
Hey, it's Skylar. You said you had the GameCube with games. Let me know if you find them.
Yeah,
exactly.
So back to competition. How has, just tactically, like what kind of impact does competition have on your business? What kind of impact does it have on the market of like for you, it's video games and sports cards or collectibles or sometimes toys and stuff like that. Like how much has a rising level of competition of people reselling in this space impacted the markets and impacted your business?
Yeah, I mean, competition is everything. Like it is a huge factor, especially when you're in a category that other people care about. So, I mean, video games is pretty darn competitive. Even more competitive than that is sneakers, sports cards, Pokemon cards. So we focus mostly on video games, but like it changes the way that I go about everything in business. I can't just casually go to garage sales. I can't casually go to my local game stores and my local shops without like intentionality. It makes it a lot harder. And I think it can be discouraging, especially if you're, at a neighborhood garage sale and somebody says you're the sixth person to ask for video games at 7:30 in the morning.
I was just about to say, and it's only 8:00.
Yeah,
and you're like,
just
ooh.
like, oh gosh, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. So yeah, it can definitely be discouraging.
I think that's one shift that I've seen you guys take in your business that's been pretty instrumental in some of your guys' growth is because if you're just starting off as a reseller and you have those experiences of like you show up to that shop, you show up to that store and the product that you're wanting or the deal that you're looking for has already been snatched by someone else that's doing the same thing as you, it can be really discouraging. But I feel like you guys have kind of changed even how you look at other people in the market, where it's no longer just something you have to be aware of, but it's actually something you've engaged in a way. Talk about that.
Yeah, so like sometimes what will actually happen because of people asking. So say you're in a neighborhood and 3 houses in a row, somebody says, "Oh, you're the third person to ask for that." Well, sometimes we'll even get the, "You know what, you're the third person to ask for that. I do have some inside. I just haven't had time to grab it yet." So that's where it's still worth asking every time. And it's important, I think, to remember those moments, because it almost creates a little bit of FOMO as well, because you're like, "Oh crap, I really have to ask it every single sale." But it's nice to remember those times where asking has panned out, but also, okay, this person asked for this. Let's see if there's anything adjacent to it that can diversify or separate us from others. So, oh, you gave away, or like you sold a Wii, like did you have any games or controllers that they didn't buy, or any other stuff that was left behind? Even if somebody says, "I sold something last year," asking, "Hey, did anything get left behind from that? Do you have any loose controllers or random games?" They're like, "Oh yeah, I did find some later."
Yeah. I think the fundamental shift in mindset towards competition is what is the biggest difference from where it used to be. I go back to the example of Alfredo, the guy that I could not stand. I love him now. And that started with a conversation of, "Hey, what are you doing? What do you mainly look for? How can we work together maybe?" And this is after I started selling on Amazon in about 2012, somewhere in that range. I'm like, okay, I know I can get more than he can get for Nintendos and for Wii's and for Wii Sports and for these popular titles with high demand and popular consoles and stuff. So I'm like, hey, I can pay well on this stuff. Can we work together? And I kind of got in, and now I've spent tens of thousands of dollars with Alfredo. And it's like, it's this shift of like, oh, if he's out there selling, I don't have to worry about it because I'm going to get the good stuff anyways, as long as it's a win-win deal. And I think it's genuinely understanding that there is abundance out there and that there's so much room for success in the marketplace of reselling. There's so many categories. There's so many different things you can branch out to. There's so many ways that you can separate yourself. So if you can say, what is my business? In which ways is my business unique?
Yeah.
And how can I serve other resellers? They're the ones that are going to be able to, they're not a one-off garage sale, right? They're a replenishable source forever.
Yeah.
If you treat them well, and if they can have a win-win deal where they profit and you profit, then they have money to continue the venture. So this is also true at our local shops, at our pawn shops. It's like, hey, I know you're selling this stuff for this price. Guys, I can pay twice that. Yeah. And if you want to like hold it and let me know, I can come right down and I'll be there. Mm-hmm. Same with broken stuff from local game stores here. Like that's a problem to them, and we can come in and solve that. And if we're not going to fix it, we can at least sell it to somebody that will.
Yeah.
And we're willing to do that. So I just think the fundamental shift of mindset has real, and it's freeing. It's way less bitter. It's way more exciting. It's great when you realize, when you can look at it, somebody else's business, and genuinely want success for them, and understand that either they can just go in their lane, you can go in yours, or maybe there's an opportunity to work together.
Yeah, I mean, you've really moved from approaching those relationships as competition to really connections. Like you've built a large portion of what you do, your inventory and all that comes through stuff like that. I remember back, I mean, we look at 10 years ago, a large portion of your inventory was coming from you and a couple of the guys going out and garage sailing and finding stuff at garage sales. What percentage do you think garage sales was of your business 10 years ago versus today?
Garage sales 10 years ago was probably about half of the inventory that I got. And if you include local game stores and stuff, probably 75% 10 years ago.
Yeah. And then today,
even 4 years ago when I started, that's almost what it was.
Might be like pretty equal split even 4 years ago. Today it is certainly different. I'd say maybe 5% is stuff that's bought locally from stores or garage sales.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about.
And that's why I think with increased competition, even in our area now that more people are looking for games and other things, we have branched out to start sourcing in other areas and setting ourselves apart online, or even just really dialing in to where people like Juan, Michael Cash, other connections now bring us all their games, no questions asked.
Yeah.
They're cleaning up Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, because that's been the transition with the garage sales going down so much, is because you're leveraging what used to be competition as now a connection that's benefiting yours and their business. That's a huge deal. I mean, that's what has grown, because just from even scalability, essentially they are sourcing things for you, which allows you to spend more time listing, processing, shipping, getting things out, which increases your ability to have liquid cash on hand and do more of it and more of it and more of it. Because I remember back in the day, I mean, we would go out and you'd be able to spend, I don't know, $1,000, $2,000 in a day on garage sale. But I mean, today, through things like the buy list or things like various connections like Michael Cash, like Juan, like some of those people that are coming in, like you can spend probably almost 10x that in a day, depending on the relationships and the connections you have going on. So I mean, that's a huge difference in your business.
Yeah, like Juan stops by maybe every month and maybe sells $1,000 to $2,000 of inventory. Michael Cash maybe double that, and it's always good stuff.
So how often do you guys find yourself doing the same thing in reverse, where you guys get something that maybe is outside of your niche and leveraging that former competition, now connections, to benefit them in your business?
Yeah, I think we're kind of to the point where dialing in specifically on video games has been very important to the flow and overall flow of the business, to where anything else can kind of be a pickle in our business. And Chase can explain maybe Pickle Syndrome.
I will explain that. I talk about this a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever really told the story. It's something that I call Schlotsky's Pickle Syndrome.
Delicious.
Which Schlotsky's is a restaurant if you don't have it in your area. And
it's like a Panera Bread, except
more emphasis on
sandwiches.
sandwiches.
Yeah.
It's a chain.
Heavy sandwiches, good stuff. A lot of meat. And they used to have for years in the entryway, right there, these jars of pickles. And they sat there fading in the sun for a decade with the same, I mean, just the nastiest, ugly looking pickles you will ever see in your life. And the people that worked there, the people that owned it, just walk in. They don't even realize the pickles are there anymore. They're overlooking it, right? So Schlotsky's Pickle Syndrome, we relate that to our business. What are we just walking past? What is something that needs to be changed that we're just not noticing?
Yeah.
We've become obsessed with that.
Yeah.
And we call it Schlotsky's Pickle Syndrome because it's like, we got to find the pickles and get them out of here. Or the cucumbers. What's something that we haven't been?
Yeah, we've grown on this analogy.
What's something that we don't have that we need to have? For example, the Echo Master. Like, we have 3 of those now, cleaning 50 discs at a time. For so long, we had one that cleans 1 disc, and we were cleaning like 500 discs a week. It's like, you can do that 500 times or 10.
Yeah.
And it's just a monstrous cucumber that we needed.
Yeah, so the essentially one of the things that we have tried to do is, okay, this is clearly a pickle in our business. How do we get that to somebody who can handle it better, to where our pickles are their cucumbers?
Yeah.
So for
this analogy,
This
man,
analogy
I know
is falling
if
apart,
you're
guys.
following, hit the like button.
So any type of weird item that we might get from garage sales that might not be video game related or electronics related, we now have somebody that we just send it to, and they sell it and pay us for it, or maybe they'll buy it outright.
Anything like that,
exactly. So that way we can be the Alfredo, the Juan, the Michael Cash to somebody else.
With Michael, all our gold and silver, we just go
exactly
straight to him, for example.
For Juan, he still collects stuff too.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes like, oh, hey,
shop.
we have a bunch of GameCube games. Go ahead, take a look, and we'll just do an even trade for what you have.
Yep.
So with that, you guys have even expanded this to even a national scale, because obviously starting with building those connections is started really locally. A lot of these guys that we've talked about so far are people that are within 15, 20 miles of us here in this area. Talk about how you've been able to build that network even beyond that on a wider scale with even more resellers that are in the market.
With the Discord, there's tons of people that are in there. They're like, oh, you're in my city. Like there's tons of people from Kansas City that are just like, hey, do you want all of my broken stuff? And now they meet up and there's tons of relationships. I would even say it's international, where there's some people that they might get a ton of inventory of like non-NTSC video games. Like they get lots of Japanese or PAL stuff to where they'll send it to people in Europe and do deals that way now, or hook each other up with, hey, I have this collection incoming. I can't buy it because it's all Japanese stuff. Here's the guy's contact. So really cool community there that's been able to do it. And also just teach each other other low-hanging fruit in different categories that maybe they'll start incorporating in their business, or maybe they'll just pass it along to others.
And we've got some really big Pokemon sellers in the group, like Lance or Sports Cards, and sometimes people get collections and just we'll sell it to him because he can maximize it. And then the same type of thing with some eBay sellers, Mercari sellers in there. We'll get quantity, volume of popular games that go great on Amazon. We got some Amazon sellers that will place that in the market, and it's pretty cool to see.
I would say, especially in the video game space, obviously you still dabble in sports cards and Pokemon cards, but video games is kind of your bread and butter, and you're jokingly among some of your friends and community are seen as a big whale in the space. But
I actually was thinking about that before this, as far as competition goes. Like, we have a big presence, but we are by no means even in like the top.
Depends on who you compare to, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it depends who you compare to. Like I think we're very small fish.
So I'm curious whether it's a person or a process that you've learned. What's something that you've learned from someone who's also in the space that is doing the same thing you're doing? Because obviously you want to, the goal of this podcast, of even your YouTube channels, is obviously to kind of help educate and empower different people to start and grow their business. What's something that you've learned from someone that's helped improve your business?
Goodness.
Yeah, so there's a lot of thoughts I have. So I really enjoy watching content in similar businesses in different niches because they can kind of see things a little bit differently than the video game. So like Chasing Cardboard Ty, dude, he's so smart.
Yeah,
and
he's great.
He's got I think he has 7 kids. I can't remember how many.
It's 6 or 7, yeah.
But we met one of them, and he's amazing.
Come over again.
Yeah, they're just so great, and kind of that business and family thing that he has going on with all the kids in it, amazing business and content, and just kind of the mindset of not being a victim. He made a video about people leaving eBay in droves because of increasing fees, increased competition, stuff kind of what we're talking today. And he's he is almost encouraged by the fact that his business is still doing well. That's because he is realizing that he's set it up to the point that it can do well despite it being a harder environment to live in, and then competition gets actually less if you can stick around. So I like his mindset there. Yeah,
a good example of that real quick is with Whatnot. We saw a lot of competition in the early days, and then people didn't stick with it to where there was practically none. And then new faces would pop in, and there's this kind of cycle in the new seller area where they'll come, they'll sell, and then they'll just drop off. So competition has never really grown there for us.
We've just kind of been there the whole time. We're still there.
You just got to stick with it.
Consistency is a big thing in business because, it is easy, especially, when you're looking at other people doing what you're doing or even building or scaling faster than you are, that spirit of comparison can be really daunting to overcome.
Yeah.
And I feel like you've done a great job of, instead of letting that discourage you in times, because there's been times whether it's the resale or the YouTube or the whatever things where you've seen other people succeed in areas that you haven't realized yet at that time, and it just came later for you. Talk a little bit about just that mindset and that philosophy of keeping heart even if things are a little bit tough, and not getting, because I think, kind of to your guys' point, when people get bitter or frustrated and they see someone else in the same space as them as an enemy, your business isn't going to succeed long term with that kind of mindset.
I hope I can articulate this well. One thing I heard recently that I really liked, for me personally, was you seeing somebody and where they're at could be their chapter 10 when it's your chapter 1. So don't think that you guys are it's both of your chapter 1. And so when you start thinking of things like that, you'll see them more as a motivation and encouragement, to where instead of looking at it bitterly, it's oh, they can do it. And it took maybe this long, or they had to do this, or they had to give up this so they could do that. It becomes more of a learning, kind of softens your heart a little bit to just learning from them and seeing them not as an enemy and as an ally with you, like Alfredo.
Yeah. And even in our niche of content creating, you've got like Pixel Game Squad, Retro Rick, Phoenix Resale. These guys are all friends of ours. Sometimes we exchange ideas between each other. I think it's just always good to look at what they're doing and say, wow, they're doing this really, really well. And like take that principle and see how it can apply to our business. Riff is really good at having charisma and fostering an amazing community. And he's great at just doing an amazing job at fostering community. So I love that about him, and I'm trying to take how we can apply that to our business. Rick has done an amazing job with his store of creating an experience.
Yeah.
Like just kind of a destination, right? A really great
he's
experience.
He's a storyteller, not only with content, but he's a storyteller with environments, with spaces.
Yes.
Like, he can help transport you back into a memory.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's been like obsessed with that, which is also kind of customer minded and serving well.
Yeah.
And I think Caleb is really good at focusing on the customer and like, how can I benefit you the most?
I'd also say like innovation.
Yeah, constant
and
improvement.
innovation.
Yeah.
And improving. And it's like, I'm inspired by them and the things that they're doing. And I think it's kind of cool to have we all are kind of making each other better, right? Because we're trying to take those principles that might be working well here or there and saying, how can we apply that to our business?
And if you're finding yourself in a place where you want some of that encouragement, that community that can help get you to where you want to be, I definitely encourage you to check out our Discord. It's super diverse and has a lot of amazing people in there. We're all in there. You can message us at any time to hopefully answer some of your questions and really move you along in your business journey.
So before we wrap up here, guys, I would love to, Chase, just what kind of final tips or tricks, what advice would you give to someone that is starting or thinking about starting a reselling business and is worried about the level of competition or where other people are at or how much people are going after the same stuff they are?
Yeah, I think your perspective towards it matters. I've been on both sides of how I see competition as a bad thing or sometimes as a good thing. And I think if you can see them more as a potential connection, as somebody that, you could have a business relationship at best, or even just a personal connection with at worst, right? Like, I just think it fundamentally shifts everything about the business, and it helps you be able to stay in it for the long game. I cannot tell you how many people I've seen start and end in this business. I've been doing it actually for 21 years, reselling. That's the real number. Sometimes I say 30 or 40. I don't know. But being able to shift your perspective towards that will help you be in it for the long game if that's your goal. And surrounding yourself with people with similar mindset is a game changer, with people that understand that competition can be more of a connection, with people that have a growth mindset and abundance mindset of wanting their business to get to that next level and are willing to help others and exchange information and just energy and excitement towards things. Those can absolutely be game changers. So those are my main two takeaways from this conversation.
Yeah. Opportunity is everywhere. There is not a scarcity of chances to grow your business, make money, and connections can be a huge, huge part of that. So, hey, we hope that this conversation has been beneficial to you, that you've enjoyed it. We want to continue doing these. We want to continue kind of talking about the things that are important to you as a business owner or as an entrepreneur. Let us know in the comments if there's other topics or things that you would like us to talk about, or if you want to join this conversation in a deeper way. We're actually going to be hosting some video calls on this very topic in our Discord. So I'd encourage you to check that out, sign up, join us, give it a shot, and I promise you will not be disappointed. So have an incredible time, and we will see you next time.
Peace.
Bye-bye.